St Mirren's were on the harsh side. I can understand why the calls were given, but I don't necessarily think that they were Simbin-worthy offences this time around. But those calls sometimes happen, and I suppose at least both teams got one harsh call each.
Yeah.
Chris Houston, being the senior pro, the captain, really, the player who's expected to be a leader and demonstrate good value, especially to a young Widnes side that even included a debutant in Dan Norman, who came off the bench for a few minutes, young Owen Farnworth, who's barely had a go. The Chapelhow twins are very young.
They went double Chapelhow this week.
Yeah, Ince and Whitley, other young players in that side, Jordan Johnston. What a fucking awful example Chris Houston showed those guys. And luckily for the club,
just so at that point in the game, it was so needless.
Yeah, and luckily and rightly for the club, their head coach in his interview after the game covered it all completely correctly. And
he didn't make any excuses for it. It was just very much, it was stupid.
No,
thank you very much.
And I was really impressed with the way Franny Cummins handled himself in that interview after the game, and it gave.
Although his voice has gone more and more bizarre than it used to go.
Well,
it was always a bit weird, but it's gone all over the shop now.
I don't know. I mean,
maybe it's something to do with that position. Maybe it's that commentary, that gangstry position up at the top of the Widnes. It just makes your voice go more extreme.
I'm not really one to talk. I don't think I've got the nicest voice, even though I've been doing a podcast for 5 years.
You're not quite in Dennis Betts territory yet.
I hear if you whack the podcast on at faster speed than normal speed, my voice gets quite high, which is it's quite amusing. I've
not seen anything out of disciplinary yet for Chris Houston, what he's going to get, because given it's not his first run-in with a match official, and given the stupidity of the offence, you'd hope this was going to be a fair before.
I'm not sure that the disciplinary information has come up yet. I'm just going to have a...
No, I've just had a quick look on the article. I can't see it. So I don't know if they've not tested anything this week. They're waiting till the Leeds Catalan game, and do it after that, perhaps. I don't know.
Well, I don't see why they should without telling us, but maybe it's just there's been a delay for some reason or other. But what did you make of the game outside of the cards?
It was quite enjoyable. It was, given what I was anticipating, especially because I knew you were off with Emma's degree show. I thought I'd better actually try and pay attention. So I was not. I have to say, I was not looking forward to it ahead of time. But it was not the least entertaining game I've watched for this year by quite some chalk. So I quite enjoyed it. I thought Salford deserved to come out the winner. They just looked a little bit more organised overall. I thought they seemed a little bit better. I thought Chris Wellham did play very well, bagging his 150th try, which is well deserved, because he's been a player he's gone through sort of peaks and troughs of being doing very well, and obviously in that England reckoning when he was at KR, he's probably carried us for quite a while, and then sort of slipped, went down to the Championship, slipped under the radar a bit, but still keeps gunning away. Doing very well. Obviously, he's one of my sort of favourite players in the KR shirt ever, really. So
yeah,
he's someone who I've got a large degree of affection for. But I think he's done very well, and I thought, it was not a bad game by any means, considering what I was expecting.
Salford had to deal with a bit of adversity with Jake Shorrocks taking a really heavy knock on his head. Kind of, sort of friendly fire / self-inflicted a little bit in terms of how it came about, but heavy knock, and he definitely didn't look like he was coming back on after he went off. But I think Robert Louis still played quite well, even though he really had to take over the whole show for Salford, and handing out praise to someone with his domestic background is a bitter thing to swallow. But you've got to say you
can't. Unfortunately, horrible as it is, you can't hide from it.
Yeah, and if he was a good goal kicker, then it'd have been a hugely comfortable win, this one, for Salford, in reality of things, because it was only the goal kicking that stopped this being a 20-point plus margin, really. And but it did start with a really, really nice, well-worked play, well-worked try, good ability to get up the field by Widnes. Tom Gilmore's try was very, very good. Yeah. but after that, I don't really feel like they truly threatened. They scored their other try during the simbing period, and that came off the back of repeat sets as well. So the field position was pretty much gifted to them for that one. And in the second half, Widnes offered absolutely nothing that could concern or scare the.
They just completely stayed in the dressing room. It's not really how you just think, well, where have you got? Because after that first half, I thought, we've got 8-12, we've got a game on here. This could be really fun, and this could go your way. But straight after, in the first 10 minutes, all the momentum was going Salford's way, and it was done and dusted before, by another 10 minutes after that.
And I think one of the most important moments in the game was Greg Burke grabbing a try on his Salford debut against the team that he's on loan from. That was pretty important, and it was a really good try. What a line he ran that completely obliterated the defence for the Vikings there on that one. I also think Lamatasi was pretty good in the middle, but as soon as I went to think he was good, he'd then commit a penalty or drop the ball, and then I'd think, oh yeah, that's why he's not at a better club, and that's why he's not more consistently mentioned as a good player, because he lets himself down with inconsistency. But I certainly think he was good. Jack Littlejohn playing at fullback means that you're not relying on him to create stuff. It just means he has to not fuck up when someone else puts him into space, and he managed to not do that successfully for Jake Bibby's try, so he should pat himself on the back for not messing things up for once. So certainly I think
he looked like he was doing
the man who has to create things, making him be more the man who has to, who's on the end of things is better for Salford, because he's been garbage. And the way I watched this game, right, is obviously a while after it had started, so I could fast forward through all the replays of knock-ons and penalties and stuff like that. So it actually felt like a much faster paced game than it probably felt like watching it live, which was enjoyable for me. I didn't mind this game at all. Salford definitely the better side.
And moving on to the stats then.
Yeah, so stats support Salford being the clear winners. Over 400 more metres at 1.4 metres per carry better average gain. They made 5 more breaks and 4 fewer errors, as well as conceding 3 fewer penalties, and successfully not being dickheads following their yellow card. To top it off, they had an impressive 96% team tackle success rate, 2% better than Widnes's. So all in all round, quality stats win for the Red Devils, which just shows, especially that second half performance, they were by far the better team in this one, which is interesting because obviously we kind of all thought the wheels had come off, and it turns out that all they had to do is come up against someone who didn't have any wheels in the first place, and then they'd be able to be a fair match for them. Okay, individually, Chris Wellham, we've talked about him a bit. 2 tries, 128 metres, 2 clean breaks. Convicted spousal abuser Robert Louis with a try assist, 187 metres and 2 clean breaks. Jake Bibby with a try in 148 metres. Good to see him performing well back in the side for Salford, one of the players they've brought through there. And George Griffin, 42 tackles, 13 marker tackles. He's going to be a player that I think will not struggle for getting himself a Super League club next season if Salford do go down. He's been impressing me of late, that's for sure. For the losing Widnes side, Pat Arvan had a try in 103 metres, and we'll talk about that rather than his drops. Matt Whitley, 41 tackles, 11 marker tackles. I mean, if he's not destined to play for a top 4, top 6 club next year, I don't understand how the player market moves. Alex Gerrard, she's dealing with, moving back over here, living up in Glasgow now, but still commuting and putting in a tough shift. 47 tackles, 12 of which were marker tackles. Impressive from Mrs. Stevie G.
Yeah. So moving on, we have the next game, which was played was this Friday?
Friday night.
Yes, this was Friday. This was the free game, and 9,121 people took this offer up, so you can't help but call it a success. And it finished Huddersfield 26, Catalan 25. Of course, as is the universal rule, it was a Catalan game, so it was refereed by Gareth Hewer.
Good job, right place to get on a plane. Everyone was relieved with that. The first view on this one was Mal Karma Tios, who said, "Kit Karma, grey man, not cool. Ref Karma, hard to justify non-neutral refs. English ref equals English win."
I mean, you're going to struggle for a non-English ref. Alan Walker said, missed another grey display.
He's basically French anyway, the amount of times he's been over there. He could probably get a bloody passport by now.
He probably could, yeah. He might consider that for, post-Brexit.
Residency grounds.
Yeah. Alan Walker said, missed another grey display, need a holiday. Don't need to hear more excuses from the excuse of a coach. Good to see 12,000 freeloaders in Huddersfield get out of the house for once. Well, 3,000 of them stayed in the pub. The stadium owners now know the maximum potential of the Giants. # never give it away for free.
Sometimes
now there's some life advice for you.
Sometimes when no one wants to pay you for your wares, you've got to give it away for free. I'd say they probably got double what they would have maybe expected to have got for this fixture otherwise, because I can't see Huddersfield having more than 3 to 4,000 season ticket holders. They're a very loyal group, those people.
And especially when they only just played in the Challenge Cup as well, that always diminishes your crowd to an extent, doesn't it? Because people don't want to, aren't going to go back, and especially after that game, who would want to go back and see it again?
Well, and that was the last home game as well, wasn't it?
So,
yeah. Mark W, Huddersfield fan, got in touch. He said, we were shaky in the first half and let Catalan make way too many metres. Drinkwater was outstanding and we couldn't cope with his kicking game. But what a second half. It was like a totally different team. A huge effort to earn an essential 2 points. The only thing sweeter than beating a team like Catalan with a penalty is when that penalty cancels out a Gigo drop goal. Oh, and about bloody time we gave Jerry some ball.
Yeah. So that's all the fan views. Anything to add on this one?
Well, I mean, it was a game of two halves, and I think ultimately it doesn't look like in the first quarter of the game Huddersfield didn't get going at all, and credit to Catalans for coming out of the trap so well and getting an 18-point in the lead up. All those first 3 tries, I think, were set up by Josh Drinkwater kicks. So obviously they had to figure out a way of closing him down and giving him less time and space for the back end of the game to get the result that they got. And also the other thing for Huddersfield, I think this is the way to do it, isn't it? If you've got all those floating fans in. And you'll have had the home fans telling them, "Oh, we had a great win away at Leeds last week. You should have seen us last week. It was fantastic. We were away at Leeds." And then that start, they would have been like, but they started to come back into it early enough with that last with those 3 tries with only 1 conversion to round out that second half. It kind of would have got those people back engaged, and then the fact that they won the second half and they won the game.
Definitely. I mean, if you were 50-50 to start with, you're going to be won over by that. You would have probably had a good time. You've seen your team win. You're going to want to come back. I just hope they do some follow up activity to get them back in. Give them a voucher for next time. Give them something, replica cowbell or whatever to get them back along.
Yeah, cowbell. As I said, should be what they do. Yeah.
Well, as I've said before, if you gave everybody a cowbell, that would make a din and a half, wouldn't it, for when the opposition were kicking, for example?
I think that the referees might have a industrial deafness claim if you gave everyone in the crowd a cowbell, though. That's the worrying concern. From the highlights that I've seen, I mean, there was a couple of really nice tries. Remy Casti's try came off some great play around the middle from Catalan, and I certainly wouldn't be disheartened if I was a Catalan fan from what I saw in this game, because they were able to get some points, they were able to get some scores, they had the halfback work and they put on some skills down the middle. They did very close to win it, but discipline seems to have let them down quite a bit, really. But they had big leads on a couple of occasions during that first half. But Jerry McGilvery is the other talking point, I suppose, for me. You watch the game and you see some of the younger players and that starting to put some neat stuff in with the pressure coming up and kicking that penalty to finish the game when he hadn't had a great kicking performance going on. But Jerry McGilvery's interception try was a huge part of this game.
It was classic McGilvery type try, wasn't it?
And there was controversy to finish it off as well. I suppose that's the last thing to sort of cover on. Catalans will feel like they should have had an opportunity to have won that game. There was Grebberg got very, very close, didn't he, on front of the sticks, and then kind of let the ball go. And the ref ruled it a knock-on rather than saying that the player who had kind of got his body in between Bird and the ball carrying arm was interfering. I think Bird was expecting that to just be a default penalty, so did